Good evening and welcome to a special Monday edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Man, unmute yourself. What's up?
I just enjoying the day off, but
What day off? This is not a day off.
never a day off.
Mess. It's an absolute disastrous mess, and we're gonna make it through it.
Listen, it's going to be a long few days getting ready. Man, we're less than 2 weeks away from Golden Throne. There's just so much going on. This week's schedule for you and I is crazy. You have a big matchup with Lewiston. We have a big matchup, or with Coeur d'Alene. We have a big matchup with Pullman. We got wrestling, more basketball, high school basketball. It's just crazy.
There's a ton absolutely going on, and we've said multiple times on here that we do our best to come here on Tuesdays, do our best to be here at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, trying to get that consistency with you people. Today was just impossible unless we brought in two absolutely new people to do the show while we were doing our basketball games. Works out. We're going to have a little bit of fun watching the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in a little bit. We'll kind of keep you up to date as that gets going, but you can already tell Mondays stink for this show. Literally started the stream, realized my backlight wasn't turned on and I needed to plug it back into the computer. Went to go do that. My foot slips, hits the computer, and makes it shut down. So that was fantastic. And then I guess I have not taught Robert Hagan the ways of StreamYard fully just yet. So we'll have a training session. We'll be good to go. But we are back live, and we're going to have lots of fun on a Monday edition of this show. And I'll tell you right now, I probably have said it multiple times during the fall with all the other crazy stuff that was going on. This is the least prepared I've ever been for an R&R Sports Report. 117 episodes. I feel the least prepared for this show. Had a lot of fun with the kids. Addie learned about Martin Luther King in school and decided, because it is Martin Luther King Day and it is technically his birthday, that we needed to bake him a cake, and she would do the honor of blowing out the candle for him. She just wanted a cake, I think, but it was so cool. We made a cake literally 35 minutes ago is when that got done. So yeah, how's it going, Robert?
Oh, I'm just rip raring ready to go. with everything going on with basketball season. Had a chance to chat with a couple of coaches, area coaches here this week, and just where their mindset is. God, the talent around our area is just phenomenal. I was sitting here finishing up some notes prior to us signing on together and watching some area high school players playing for Blue Mountain Community College. So watching Cash Lang, Mason Vantine, as they were playing North Idaho just a few minutes ago. So I know they went to half, so I'm not sure where that score ended up. I'll try to get that back and see where they're at.
Yeah, like you said, we're less than 2 weeks from Golden Throne. Regular season for basketball is wrapping up very quickly, especially for Idaho girls basketball. They end at the end of January before going into their regionals. Boys in Idaho and I believe just all of Washington has about a week or two after that before they get into postseason play. Then it's on to baseball. We're getting closer to the end of the regular season for LC basketball as well. We'll have all of that. Baseball for Major League Baseball is getting closer and closer. We might touch on that in the second hour, but it was super wild card weekend, and 5 of the 6 games are in the books. And let me just be the first to tell you that once again, the 2 7 seeds went down in defeat. Not shocking. One of the 7 seeds, just should not have been there. We will get to that. However, it was a pretty decent weekend of football, if I have to say. What say you?
I kind of agree, and I was looking at our friend Robert Taylor's his post, and he said probably some of the best matchups that we have seen in a while in the wild card round. I agree. It will. I think tonight it will kind of determine a little bit if Dallas can hang around and keep this game interesting, because we're talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is just nuts in the playoffs. So I think overall, just a high scoring week. I mean, with everything going on, that's the biggest thing. Every one of the games, big scores.
I'm in pool with Haley's work where you pick the winners and then you pick the total points for every game. I don't think I've been close for the total points on any of the games because you just playoff time. It's January football. It's 2 really good teams, so you tend to think the defenses will play better, especially because of the fact that every single one of these matchups have taken place in the regular season at least once. So these teams know each other pretty well. I was wrong. The points have been absolutely absurd. And again, 5 games are down. 4 of them came right down to the wire. And let's start in the AFC, where we know the 4 teams that will be playing next week, as all 3 of their games are done, as kickoff has now taken place in Tampa Bay. So we'll keep you updated there as we go. And let's start with the wild one, the wildest of them all. The Los Angeles Chargers on a Saturday night shocked everybody by intercepting the Prince, as some would call him, Trevor Lawrence. 4 interceptions, 3 by Asante Samuel in that game, and the Chargers jumped out to a huge 27-0 lead. So I figured, you know what? I'm at work already. I'll focus on work. So great job by the Chargers getting that win. I get that pick correct, and I jump out to a 1-0 lead. What say you about this game?
I was the same thing. After the first quarter, Denise had gotten home. She had worked. I had to work this weekend, and so we were chatting, and I thought, okay, the game's so far out. Let's sit and have our social time and have dinner, and let's watch a show really quick. And next thing you know, she was heading to bed. I said, oh, I'll go ahead and flip it back over and see what it is. And by this time, Jacksonville is gotten right next to him and down just 1 score. So
what are you talking about? They're down 1 score. The Chargers dominated this game.
Yeah, you would thought so. Jacksonville down the 1 score, and that was back. It was crazy.
Okay, I'm doing my best over here to get Robert to play along, but that's all right. No, Jacksonville comes all the way back, 31-30, and gets the win. Come on, you got to play along with this stuff. You got this pick right because of this crazy comeback, man.
That's the thing. That's crazy comeback. But I told somebody else. I was one of the players in our bowling league last week. I took this game on a coin flip just because everybody's saying it's going to be a close game. I did. I literally flipped the coin to decide who was going to take, and it came down to basically your thought and mentality that you had said about Thursday night games. Got to take the home team, and that's kind of where I was at. I'm taking the home team just because.
Yeah, all right. This one and the Minnesota Giants game, I'm with you. They were coin flippy style games where you could see it going either way. And I went with the Chargers, even though I think Jacksonville was coming in with a bit more momentum. I just figured the Chargers have been there before, they can get things done. And it sure looked that way for nearly the entire first half. Give credit to Jacksonville scoring that last touchdown going into the first half to cut the lead to 20 and make it at least seem a little bit more manageable going into the second half. But let's be honest. If you go back and just look at the stats of that game, you go back and just watch the Chargers drives. Sure, they were up 27-0, but they had one good drive. Mm-hmm. Again, our good friend Robert Taylor and I were commenting back and forth throughout that game, and he had messaged me in the second quarter. He's like, so I could be wrong, but I don't think the Chargers have had one legit drive in this game because of all the turnovers from Trevor Lawrence. They had one after a 3-and-out where they went, I think, 11 plays and like 70 yards or so for one of the touchdowns. But other than that, they were going 20 or 30 yards here and even going only 20 or 30 yards and then kicking a field goal. So the Jaguars defense was actually playing very good football, which I think all of us should have went, with the way they're playing, if Trevor Lawrence can clean this up, they could make this comeback. And they did. Had a fantastic job. Trevor Lawrence had 4 touchdown passes in the game to equal the 4 interceptions he threw. Didn't quite make 300 yards, but the thing is, to me, we all thought, all right, Jacksonville's not going to be able to run the ball anymore. The Chargers just never ran it themselves.
No, Eckler, only 40 yards, right at 40 yards, I think, rushing total. And I think the biggest part about that entire game is, that Jacksonville didn't get away from the run because ETN was doing good. But you could see, for me, watching that last, 7 minutes, I think it was about 7 minutes left of the game, I saw the old Doug Peterson of, let's gamble, let's do and do what we're going to do and take advantage of what we've got here and capitalize. And that's the big thing. And even some of the play calls he came up with, you could see it was the old Peterson that was in charge.
Because of this game, we are going to bring back our old sports-related draft that we stopped doing when football season started, and we just could not fit everything for the first 2 hours. So in the second hour of the show, we will be doing the greatest sports comebacks of all time. We're not going to do it based off just the NFL or football in general. We're going to bring in all sports just to bring back the variety. So if you are around in the second hour and you want to vote on who has the best sports-related draft, please do so. It should be interesting. And maybe this game will make the list. We will see. We'll move to the Sunday's game on the AFC side, as both Dallas and Tampa Bay have already punted in this contest, as the defense so far has held up strong on both of these teams, something we can't say about most of the games from this weekend. But Buffalo holds on to defeat the Miami Dolphins 34-31. And this was another game where I even joked with Haley on Sunday after the fact of I just need to shut my mouth during the wild card weekends, apparently, because Buffalo jumped out 17-0. And I told her, she's like, oh, yeah, well, Jacksonville came back. I go, yeah, but this feels different. Like, Buffalo actually feels like they're very much in control of this game, offensively and defensively. It feels totally different. It was not different. Miami had a chance to win this game and just fell short. What did you think of this one?
I think 2 big things stood out for me. Yes, Josh Allen ended up with 2 interceptions in this one of which You might disagree with me, but one of which I think was more on Beasley, not on Josh Allen, with that getting bounced out. Just luckily falls into a Miami hand and gets a good return with that one. But I think the bigger one is got to be from Miami's running game. Mozart wasn't there, wasn't playing.
Mhm.
Wilson doesn't get the number of touches I think he needed to kind of set the tempo, but then you got a pure rookie in there in Skylar Thompson trying to do what uh, Tua had done with this team earlier in the year. So
Right.
I think the big one for on the other side of the ball, besides Josh Allen, has to be probably Gabe Davis. Davis had a great game,
Mhm.
just 6 receptions, but some of those receptions were big. The touchdown, getting both feet down in that one, and a couple of the others where he was right on the sideline to pull him in. So I think Davis had a heck of a game for the Bills.
Yeah, he definitely had a good game. He struggled through the regular season, and I know a lot of
Mhm.
people were worried about the targets and the weapons that Buffalo was bringing into this postseason. Obviously, bringing Cole Beasley back just to bring in somebody who is familiar with the offense and try to create more options for Josh Allen. And I know there's a lot of concern right now for how Allen has played over the last few weeks, especially in this game. Like you said, a couple of interceptions, gets sacked 7 times, wasn't as decisive as he has been the
Mhm.
last year or so. Kind of looked like the younger Josh Allen that I wasn't a big fan of in his first year or two, where I was never sold on him. And that is definitely a concern. But you have to remember, this is the third time that these two teams have met this year. Players are not going to look as good against a defense that have seen them 3 times. Miami's
Mhm.
defense balled out, kept them in this game. Skylar Thompson was not great, which is not surprising. He went 18 of 45 for 220, throws a couple picks in there as well. Just kind of good enough to keep them in this contest. It would have been very interesting if Tua could have been cleared to
Mhm.
play this game. Does Miami would blow them out? Does Buffalo come at it a different way? Does Buffalo not take their foot off the gas when they jump out 17-0? There's so much that goes on. There's no way of saying, oh, if Tua plays, Miami wins this game. If Tua plays and Buffalo plays the way they did in this contest, then yeah, Miami would win this game. But
I
you,
think the
you
big
give credit to the defense.
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, you look at what Sean McDermott was doing with Josh Allen. I'm surprised he only honestly rushed for had 4 carries, and
Mhm.
they didn't get him a little bit more, kind of a zone read for him, or for him to design, run, and take
Mhm.
off, to keep things moving a little bit more for him. When he seems to run the ball a little bit better, it sets up his passing game so much more. And I think that was one big thing that I saw in that game.
Before we move on to your game, because we've got a special segment later on in this first hour for your team, but just out of the Chargers and Miami, both teams making the postseason, losing in this opening round, who has the better 2023 season next year?
Wow. Hmm. I would say Miami. I think just because, you know, that receiving core and with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and if and when Mozart gets back after not playing, and deciding what's going to happen with the future of Tua,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big thing. I think they were cruising right along there for a while until that first real big injury happened with Tua. So I think they've got something to prove after how things went
Mm-hmm.
downhill after last year.
Obviously, I think I overbought the defense of the Chargers coming into this year. I did pick the Chargers to win the AFC West, but I have said many times it was more so because I just didn't want to pick Kansas City. It just felt like the boring pick. It was the one prediction I made where I'm like, there's a little chance I'll get this right, but it'd be fun if I did. But I don't think the defense was as good as I thought they were going to be. The offense was kind of hit or miss as well. Eckler has been fantastic for them over the last few years and scoring a ton of touchdowns, but he is still not that north and south runner that you really need with this kind of team. So unless the Chargers are able to either draft one of those style players or get one in free agency, I think that they are just too one-dimensional still right now. We'll see what goes on with the coaching staff if they get fired or they keep them around. And I know a lot of people. It's so I still don't understand how the Chargers coaching staff gets just hammered for some of their fourth down decisions and going for it in these interesting situations. And then all I'm hearing in the Giants Minnesota game is how gutsy Brian Dable is for going for it on 4th and 1 on his own side of the end zone. And it's people react differently if you convert it or if you don't convert it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chargers consistently do not convert on their gambles, and other teams have been doing a fantastic job of converting. There was a play this last weekend, and I'm blanking where it was, the Jacksonville game, where they went for it on 4th and 1, and not only went for it on 4th and 1, but faked the QB sneak, handed it off on an end around, and not only got enough for the first down, made the chip shot or the field goal a chip shot at that point to try to win the game instead of going for the long field goal there. Again, if they don't make it, then you start questioning, well, why didn't you kick the field goal and take the lead? So it's weird how much the Chargers coaching staff are getting just railed on for some of their decisions. Do I agree with every decision? No, but they gamble a little bit. Listen, Ron Rivera has made a career out of gambling so much he has the nickname Riverboat Ron.
Mm-hmm.
And he is loved for his wacky and gambling decisions, but the Chargers they don't get the same love, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of that play you're talking about was kind of an interesting play. They had three running backs in the backfield, if I remember right, and Lawrence was under center and snaps around end around. Who would have figured? Great seal block by the.
It worked perfect.
It was great, and they get them down to I want to say the 17-yard line or 18-yard line. So a great play design. That's Peterson. I think that's what's happened is some of these coaches have gotten to know what their gambles are, and I think that's where it's happened. Staley is just not set up into those. He hasn't said it. He hasn't defined his career quite yet. I think it was the words that I'm looking for in that one.
Maybe he has earned the trust.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's exactly.
It might have said 6 at a moment, Robert, but again, Mondays are fun. We had technical difficulties on top of it, so you haven't missed too much. But I just messaged him, see if he was listening, because I know we'll be talking about Kansas City shortly, and I don't want him to miss that. Last AFC game to talk about was on Sunday night while we were bowling. And unfortunately, you and I were a few pairs apart, so I didn't get your full reactions to this game. But your Baltimore Ravens do fall to Cincinnati 24-17. The only playoff game until this Monday night game where neither offense can do anything so far through the first 5 minutes. Only playoff game we've had so far where the defense led the whole game, and the Bengals do win it 24-17, but the Ravens kept it close.
Mm-hmm. Kept it close to the whole entire time. When you sit there and you hold, hold that thought there, Robert, because we're going to get to that here in just a minute. When you hold Joe Burrow to 209 yards passing, and what they were doing, keeping Joe Mixon with the ball, that defense, both defenses looked unbelievable in this game. Now, Cincinnati's defense to the run game, they couldn't keep them down to, I think we ended up like close to 150 yards rushing between Edwards, Huntley, and Dobbins. Dobbins quoted in saying, hey, give him the ball, let him have it. And so great game there, to just hold their rushing to 51 yards. So, hats off to the new defensive coordinator. And this third time seeing Cincinnati, Baltimore had a decent game plan against them.
Yeah, and just like what we were just talking about with the Buffalo Miami game, I know you did it because you're a Baltimore fan and you can't put yourself into that mindset. But the world believed that both Buffalo and Cincinnati were just going to roll over these backup quarterbacks and move on to their game against each other. And they both get the win. Both were a lot more tightly contested than I think any of us were expecting. But you do have to remember that this is the third time these teams have met.
Mhm.
While the quarterbacks are not the top tier quarterbacks that started the season for these two teams, well, top tier, the starters, the defenses
I like
have
top
seen.
tier.
Well, I would put Lamar at a higher tier than Tua, but I don't think I'd put either of them top tier. But the defenses have seen Joe Burrow or Josh Allen now 3 times into this. You game plan a little bit. I know a lot of people are going to overreact to how poorly Burrow and Allen played, but you give credit to the opposing defenses and what they were able to do. I think next week when they play each other, offenses are going to reign supreme, and that one they're going to both look a bit better than they showed this weekend. But from what I was able to watch, again, while we're bowling, you don't watch every single play as intently. My pair had some alcohol going on, so it got really loud around me. And that last game, I was off. I was trying to disappear in other areas of the bowling alley to watch the game. Oh yeah, there you go. Robert Taylor is very happy Sheffers is refereeing this game and not his Kansas City game, but he should not be reffing any of this stuff. Let's be honest. But it was a very close game, and it really came down to that fumble recovery. Sam Hubbard goes 98 yards, longest fumble recovery or fumble recovery for a touchdown in playoff history. And I also think it's the longest play in NFL playoff history. I joked around with my mom earlier today saying that I was watching this play happen. This was one of the plays I saw live, and I saw the ball come out, and I saw the Cincinnati player grab the football and start running. And I looked over to your pair of lanes, and you were about step 3 or 4 in your approach because you were at the time bowling. So I knew you had no idea what was going on. Robert Hagan had enough time to throw his shot, watch the ball go down the lane, hit the pins. I have no idea what you hit, if you got a strike or whatever it was. Walk all the way off the approach and then finally get informed of what was going on. And I watched you look up, and the Cincinnati Bengals still had the ball about the 25, 30-yard line, so you could watch the touchdown get scored. That's how long this play took.
Yeah, Sam Hubbard, not the most swift man to run.
No.
Mark Andrews almost caught him, and that was very close. I'm surprised, but in sprinting down the field, the officials can't see that from their standpoint. It could have easily been a block in the back, and I don't remember who was running side by side with Andrews, but Andrews was almost caught Hubbard. But yeah, that big. I think the play of the game has to be the play 100%. Of the game. I don't like the play call. Really, I agree. It should have been blocking the back. But I don't agree with the play call from their 3rd and goal, about the 1.5, almost 2-yard line. They call it 1-yard line, but I'm sorry. Huntley should not have been trying to hop over the line, that far out, I think. And,
if you're
give the ball to Dobbins,
If you're going to reach out over the line, you better make sure you're over.
Yep.
Because you were very vulnerable in that situation, and it does come back to bite Baltimore for sure.
And listen, we're right about 4.5 minutes, I want to say, at this point, maybe 4:40 left on the clock. 3rd down, you're going to go for it 4th down. I say pound the ball. Pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball,
Yeah, maybe on a 4th down, I can see you trying to do that, because then at that point, you're going all in for it.
I agree with you.
It's still, you're not expecting Cincinnati not to just not only fumble or get the fumble, but then go 98 yards with it. So in fourth down, I totally get it in that situation. But yes, you at least one more play of pounding it up before you try to do that with the
Exactly.
quarterback. Before we move on to our divisional round predictions, you got some questions you put on
Yeah.
our
So
notes.
I thought about this, and it's a few of them, and so we're gonna call this what ifs. And so I'm gonna ask you a couple of what ifs
Yeah.
of the AFC really quick. So if the Los Angeles Chargers could have capitalized on the 5 turnovers that
Mhm.
Jacksonville did, would the Chargers have been a better opponent going in against Kansas City?
I think so, only because they're divisional rivals. We just talked about how close Miami and Baltimore were able to keep their contests, even though they had backup quarterbacks in, because it was the third time they had seen each other. The defense, you know, has a good book on their opponent. Now, would the Chargers have completely slowed down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Probably not, but at least decent enough to keep them in the game. Obviously, the Chiefs would have the book on the Chargers as well, so maybe they have more issues. But I do think the Chargers and the Chiefs, great divisional matchup. It would have been the more fun game. However, now we get a full week of Nick Wright debating whether he's going to pick his Kansas City Chiefs or his Prince, Trevor Lawrence. And I'm okay with that. It's going to be a lot of fun television on that show.
Not to go away from this game really quick, because it's not in our notes either, but when it came out about an hour before the show, and I never typed it in there, how do you feel about Bosa's comments about the officiating in that game? I was going to say something earlier about it, but he was quite blunt with his comments.
I honestly have not seen them, but he was super hot-headed throughout that whole game. He had some terrible penalties, as Dallas has, with some points on the board. Dalton Schultz with a 22-yard touchdown reception. So Prescott with the good touchdown pass. Dallas up 6-0 about halfway through that first quarter. A little bit more than halfway through the first quarter. I have not seen the Bosa comments, but they wouldn't shock me with how angry he just looked throughout the game.
Yeah, he was quite angry the entire time. So quite weird. Now, you touched on the next question here a minute ago. If Tua or Teddy were playing in the wild card game, does it give them a better chance of beating the Buffalo Bills the way that the defense was playing in this one against the Bills?
Tua for sure. Teddy, maybe not so much. Oh, they missed the extra point. That's great. Still 6-0. Tua would have given them a better chance. He's obviously more fleet of foot and could have given them some extra looks in there for sure. And as Robert Taylor just pointed out, he does run the offense better. Teddy is a reliable backup. He can get you a couple games in there. I've seen him a couple times in a Jets uniform playing. He did okay with Miami as well. Skylar Thompson, while I don't think he played great, he played okay enough. And I don't think Teddy would have changed the game plan that much. But again, if Tua is playing, maybe Buffalo plays differently on offense because they're trailing and they're playing different. Who knows what would have happened? But yes, they would have had a better chance to win that game with the way the defense was playing if Tua was in.
Again, a lot of drop balls in this one too. So good comment there. All right, last question. And yes, you and I touched on it last week. And I actually said something about your comment to my neighbor today. And when I told him the comment that you had made about Lamar last year, he looked at me and he says, "Oh my God, he is actually 100% correct." And I've said this comment,
even though I don't even believe it anymore, but yes.
So if Lamar had signed a deal in the preseason in 2022, so the preseason, is he well enough to play against and put Baltimore into the win column with the way the defense have played?
Honestly, I mean, it still comes down to if he's healthy enough. Just because I was making the comment just to kind of rib you a little bit about your team and Lamar not playing. I knew he wasn't going to play just because that's all we've seen for the last month and a half is, well, maybe, but you're never going to see him in practice. And yeah, no, he's really not playing. But if his leg was well enough to play, then yeah, I think he plays well enough to beat Cincinnati, maybe. Who knows what they do? It's not like Lamar has been great in the postseason. He has his own postseason issues, but I think I would have rather had Lamar out there than Huntley. But I think while a lot of people have come out and said, guys, if there was a chance he could have played, he would have played. Again, money talks. And there's a lot of times we see it in bowl games too, where it's like, well, why would I risk myself for this team that's not paying me? Well, they pay now, but you know, I'd ruin my future money. Lamar doesn't want to ruin his future money. So it is still an interesting thing to think about. But would he play well enough for Baltimore to win? He probably played better than Huntley.
Yeah. And one thing we didn't touch on a few minutes ago was the bad clock management again. Baltimore why does John Harbaugh let the clock run all the way down? I was so frustrated with that before he finally called that timeout. Unbelievable.
Always. All right, let's get into it. AFC playoff predictions. We know these matchups. Obviously, the NFC, we are waiting on this Dallas Tampa Bay game, but surprised that the AFC has the early games on both Saturday and Sunday when they have by far better matchups. It's better for us in bowling, not having to being able to watch Cincinnati Buffalo first before we get to the lanes and stuff. But I know they kind of flip flop who gets the primetime games, AFC and NFC. It just missed opportunity here. But 1:30 p.m. on a Saturday, the Kansas City Chiefs off their bye host the man who has never lost on a Saturday, Trevor Lawrence. Who do you got?
Listen, I think both ball clubs are doing well. ETN proved a little something. If he can keep the ball and run it, I think maybe Jacksonville has a chance to stay there. But you're talking Patrick Mahomes and probably the best tight end to play in the game in a long time with Travis Kelce. So give me Kansas City, especially right now, Vegas laying them with 8.5 on that.
We talked last week about what team we thought could make a Cincinnati run. I don't think either of us took Jacksonville. My memory is garbage and I don't remember, but I don't think either of us took Jacksonville. I know I did not because I didn't pick them to even get out of the wild card round. But that kind of momentum coming back from 27-0 in your wild card game in front of a home crowd who have not seen a home playoff game in the late 90s, maybe?
Probably.
I forget again. I have done terrible at show prepping, so
I think that's
going off the cuff. But
I think that was in the late 90s because that was like Dan Marino's last game, and that's when Jacksonville blew out the Miami Dolphins so bad. In that
Mark Brunell and all those guys, Fred Taylor.
And,
So Jacksonville it has the best momentum going into their contest. They kind of have that Cincinnati feel right now, where maybe Kansas City is looking forward to, do we get to host Cincinnati or do we have to travel to Atlanta to play Buffalo? And maybe they overlook Jacksonville. I don't think they will completely because it is a playoff game and they hopefully have learned from their mistakes. So I think Jacksonville is a very interesting pick. I could possibly see them, stay within the Vegas number, but there is zero chance I am taking the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this game. I'll be rooting for them for the story and just to kind of egg on Robert Taylor throughout the game, but I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs to once again make it to the AFC Championship game, which is 5 years in a row if they do?
I think so.
It's a remarkable run for what Kansas City is doing. All right, let's get to the other one. Sunday at noon. We all thought this was going to be the matchup, but we all thought that they were going to be able to rest some starters in the fourth quarter of their wild card games. Cincinnati at Buffalo. Buffalo right now a 4.5-point favorite at home. Who do you got?
It has been back and forth thinking it. I was so hard with Cincinnati of, finally getting them in my power ranking, how they played. They played okay. Baltimore kept them in check, but I think you're going to have Buffalo at home again. It's going to be a tough game there. If Davis can play as well as he did, Diggs get the ball around, but they've got to game plan a little bit. Josh Allen's got to run the ball a little. So Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Give me the Bills.
So you are predicting we will have a neutral site game, excuse me, in the
I think
AFC
we will.
Championship game. I'm kind of wanting to avoid that only for the fact that I believe that if we do get the neutral site game and it turns out to be a good atmosphere and fans are able to travel enough, that the NFL will start selling off the AFC and NFC championship games to neutral sites as well and use it as a way to make even more money. And I don't think that fans of these teams that had earned the right to host an AFC championship game or an NFC championship game should lose that opportunity. Again, I get why they're doing it this year. Unprecedented situation with everything that happened with Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills. So I 100% get it. I know Chiefs fans are upset, but this year I get it. I am just worried that down the line they're going to go, well, it worked out pretty well. And it's also why I was dreading them expanding the playoffs again. We just don't. Please.
Mm-hmm.
The 7th seed has still yet to win a goddamn playoff game. Can we chill over there? But all right, let's get into it. The NFC now. Of course, only 2 of the 3 games are completed, as it's still 6-0. Dallas, Tampa Bay has the ball right now. And the one game that really ended up not being close, though the first half was entertaining enough. San Francisco takes out the Seattle Seahawks 41-23. Seattle did have the lead in the first half, 17-16, and then the 49ers completely take control. Purdy with 3 touchdown passes. He's been fantastic. McCaffrey continues to be unstoppable. Samuel's now closer to 100%. That duo, like we talk about different duos in sports. Is there a better duo than Samuels and McCaffrey on a team?
Well, you're jumping ahead to my next little thing here, so I'm gonna just go ahead and ask you then, because I had it down.
I didn't even see it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I put it there a minute ago. It kind of like the what ifs. I'm gonna call. Can you say? And I was gonna say, is Purdy, McCaffrey, and Samuels the best trio left in the NFC playoffs? If not the best trio left in the playoffs.
Who's even close? Like Kansas City, if you go AFC as well, I mean, you have Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and insert name here. And whoever you put in there as the third man, good NWO reference, it's pretty good. That's a pretty good trio, no matter which wide receiver decides to take the top spot that week. And you know what? They have a lot of pretty damn good receivers where one of them could pop off at any moment. But no, I think right now, McCaffrey and Samuels and whoever is the quarterback for San Francisco is the best trio left in the playoffs.
And I saw there something yesterday that they did decide that if at any time Jimmy G comes back, that he would be just a backup role going into the next.
Now.
Yeah. So
Purdy's rolling too much. You can make the change in the offseason if you want to go back to Jimmy G or Trey Lance to be the starter next year. But you cannot stop this run right now.
So with that being said, this now is what he's rolled off 6 wins in his games now. Right. I know the season is 17 weeks, but could he easily be conversation for Rookie of the Year? Mr. Irrelevant is making a huge statement.
Obviously, this game doesn't count towards it. It's a regular season award, but pulling off the last 5 wins, even though a lot of it is due to a great defense and a lot of weapons around him, there wasn't a single rookie that blew our doors off the entire year. Breece Hall looked like he had that thing wrapped up in the first 5 or 6 weeks, then goes down with an ACL. I guess that's the question. Who had the better 5-week stretch? Breece Hall or Brock Purdy? I will go homer and say Garrett Wilson might win the AFC or the NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, because he had a pretty good season for the Jets. Chris Olave for New Orleans was pretty good as well. I do think it'll go down to a receiver just because Purdy and Hall only had short stints. But if they decided to give it to Purdy, I don't think I'd be upset about it. He was pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. Uh, Also, Geno Smith, and I
Mhm.
have to, we go back to the game. He had a decent game,
Yeah.
25 of 30, 25 of 35 in that one, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is he the comeback player of the year? Can you put him in that
He
category?
didn't come back from anything. Stop it. Robert Taylor tells me this all the time. What did he come back from? Irrelevancy? He was never relevant. He was the starter for the Jets and sucked. He started a little bit for the Giants and sucked. So if you're going to come back, you have to come back from something. He was never relevant until this year where he had a very good year. He was a great story for Seattle, but he's not a comeback.
He won't win it. Well, I already know who will
He
win it.
probably will win it, and he
Nah,
shouldn't. But
I
Christian McCaffrey is the comeback player of the year. If it's not him, it's Saquon Barkley. Both of them came back off of injuries, and both had fantastic seasons for their teams that are now both in the divisional round of the NFC. So it's between those two.
yeah,
Get out of here with the Geno Smith talk. However, will Geno Smith be the starter week 1 for Seattle next year?
it would be very surprising if he's not. I think has proven himself a little bit. The design has come around where they're using the short. He's not taking as much deep passes. He's taking the short little things. He's managing the ball, and I think that's the bigger thing in this one. I think he needs to work the relationship out a little bit more with DK and get where they are a true back and forth. They need a little
And
extra
Tyler
help.
Lockett too.
And Tyler Lockett too. They've got to come up where they're like 1-2 with that group all the time. So
Listen, Seattle surprised all of us. We all thought they were going to have a top 5 pick and really struggle this year. Chris, who comments on our pick'ems, he doesn't come on the show and comment as often, but he still comments when we do our pick'ems and gives us his thoughts as well. Did tell us preseason that Seattle was going to win 10 games, and he was 1 win short. And we all thought he was just being a homer. Now, obviously, he picked Seattle to win this wild card game and even joked about drinking the Kool-Aid. But so listen, Seattle has taken a bigger step than we were expecting. And honestly, they're in such a great position right now. There's a lot of free agent quarterbacks that are intriguing that Seattle could go for. But if I'm the Seahawks, if the draft plays out well enough and you find a quarterback that you like with a top 5 pick that you're able to get, I start Geno Smith all of next year, at least until you get knocked out of the playoff contentions, if that happens. And you take this rookie and you let him sit behind Geno and learn and take his time. And hopefully you find somebody that has the same uptick as Patrick Mahomes, who his rookie season, he played 1 game behind Alex Smith. Now, will he be as good as Mahomes? Of course not. I mean, Mahomes is a generational talent for Kansas City, but it has shown that sitting behind a serviceable quarterback who has been around for a very long time, like Geno, does wonders for a quarterback.
what scares me the most is knowing what this front office does and how they think and what they think, because you look at it, you've got Geno, you've got you get a great pick, and he was a little inconsistent.
Oh
but
my God.
Kenneth
Speaking of
Walker,
picks, Tom Brady throws an interception in the end zone, and he threw it to a Dallas Cowboy who was standing by himself.
now I missed the play, so I was getting ready to get in as they're finally showing the replay on mine.
Yeah, watch the replay real quick. It's horrible.
Oh Lord,
what a horrible throw!
Throw it to Curse. Listen, that's the big thing, is not knowing what that front office is going to do. I think the Seahawks made a great pick with getting Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker was a little up and down, but I think if he gets the consistency in year 2, Geno Smith gets the gets the relationship between those guys down, you could easily see the Seahawks right back up there. And we were all hard on them, but I think they could easily be, something to look forward to next year.
Listen, we talked about how great the Jets draft looked after the draft, and they all did pretty well. I mean, injuries kind of hampered Jermaine Johnson, but he was a third pick. But I mean, you could have both rookies coming or rookies of the years coming from the Jets. But this Seattle Seahawks draft is on par, if not slightly better than what the Jets did. I go back and look at it real quick. Offensive lineman Charles Cross basically was a starter every week for them this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mafe, or is it Mafe? The
Yeah,
linebacker for
the
Seattle was pretty good this year. Ken Walker is up there as far as rookie of the year goes, and he had some fantastic weeks. The offensive lineman Abraham Lucas from Washington State played a lot as well. And now those two are going to be cornerstones for that offense for years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Bryant was decent as a cornerback, picked in the 4th round. 5th round, an even better quarterback, Tariq Woolen, who I think is the only competition other than Aiden Hutchinson for defensive rookie of the year to Sauce Gardner. Tariq Woolen was absolutely phenomenal. He went, 5 straight weeks where he intercepted a pass?
Mm-hmm.
That's your 5th round pick. Tyreek Smith was decent. And then you have your 7th round picks, a couple wide receivers that didn't do anything. But still, your first 5 or 6 picks all nailed in their first year. And you have to give Seattle credit, and hopefully they continue to have long careers and help that team rebuild faster than any of us thought. But they're going to be an issue for the NFC West next year, I think. Like, we all were down on them this year. I will not be next season. Let's go ahead and move on. And I do have to say, I'm very glad that we are stretching this NFL talk and having fun conversations because, again, my show notes in the second half are a little rough, but we're having fun with it. New York Giants do defeat the Minnesota Vikings 31-24. And I'm going to say it right now. Like Josh Allen, I never bought into Daniel Jones. Ever. Still to this day, I was not buying into Daniel Jones. He put on a fantastic performance for the New York Giants and was the reason why New York is moving on past the Vikings with a 31-24 victory. Do I still buy him as somebody that could become a top 10 quarterback? Not quite yet, but man, he balled out on Sunday.
I messaged our buddy Jimmy, and who's a huge New York Jets fan. And at the time I messaged him, I was just short of the halftime, and Daniel Jones already had 7 carries for 72 yards. I mean, he had all of his yards pretty much in the first half, but what he was doing, and listen, and we talked about it. I talked with him about it. It was to the point of Daniel Jones has got to put up or shut up this year. And I think Brian Daboll has a lot to do with that and how he handled his star quarterback. And can we say he's a star now? A little bit, but he sure proved himself in this one. You know, he led over Saquon Barkley. You know, he had more yards than Barkley. He had 78. Barkley ended up with 53, and that's plus throwing 300 and just over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. So,
no, he was great. And Kirk Cousins, I thought, was pretty good from Minnesota. What, only 8 completions, almost 300 yards there too. Weird decision on the last play, throwing it short to Hawkinson, who was like 6 yards away from the first down marker, instead of just throwing it up for Justin Jefferson. He said he didn't like the matchup he saw with Jefferson and then felt he was going to get sacked, so he got rid of it. And he wanted to at least give Hawkinson a chance instead of getting sacked to lose the game. But do you not remember what he did in Buffalo with the 4th and forever play where he one-handedly took it away from the defender? Absolutely, it's Justin Jefferson or bust on that play, I think, for Minnesota. And they had a good year, and I don't think any of us really bought them throughout as they continue to win sneaky games. You bought them for a little bit. You had them.
I had them in the top 5, but I also had them at the beginning of the year winning that division and being good. I think the big part with that Kirk Cousins, you know, was spreading the ball around quite a lot. I think the line comes back to Thielen. Adam Thielen just didn't feel. I mean, he's had a roller coaster a couple of years, but you know, he finally got hot towards the end of this one. But Thielen and Jefferson in this game, you know, combined for less than 100 yards. I mean, it's tough to watch that.
Yeah, Giants sold out on Jefferson for sure. They were talking about it during the broadcast of how they were letting him catch it short and then just tackling him quickly and keeping him in front of him, and it worked out pretty well for the Giants. But in the end, I do not get this pick right. You didn't either, right? We both picked Minnesota.
No, we both took
in
Minnesota.
This contest, but it was another one of those 50-50 games. Congratulations to New York, as they will now move on. And again, Dallas and Tampa Bay are going on right now. Dallas with a 6-0 lead, and they are inside the 10, trying to score some more against Tampa Bay. We'll keep you up to date as we go there as well. You had another, I stole one of your questions, but you have one more on here.
Yeah, so you did take the one about the best trio between Purdy, McCaffrey, and Samuels left in the trios, but I know these guys are out of the competition now, but I want to talk about TJ Hawkinson and what he has done since he has gotten to Denver, or excuse me, from Detroit to Minnesota. And Minnesota, he put up just short of 400 yards, or excuse me, Detroit put up just short of 400 yards in right at 10 games. Now 7 games plus the playoff game. He's already close to, I want to say close to 700 yards receiving. Still only got 3 touchdowns, but could you say that he is the best tight end in the NFC now with the change of scenery, or even in the NFL since being traded?
Well, absolutely not the NFL. I mean, Travis Kelce is still top dog in that position. Hands down, no one's close. And I still go George Kittle well over TJ Hawkinson. And he had a great last little bit there with Minnesota, but Kittle is fantastic off the ball. Add him in there with McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel as well in that offense. That add him to the quadruple, I guess.
But
for San Francisco, but no,
it's just
Hawkinson
crazy
is up there. He's a top 5 tight end for sure, but he's not up there with those two.
It's just crazy to see what he did with, Kirk Cousins instead of Jared Goff, and so what that offense designed around him. And I mean, that dude, he's a big frame. I think what is he, 6'6", 6'7"? Isn't he something like that? So just crazy to think about.
All right, let's get into our predictions, and we will predict the San Francisco game because it doesn't, like Robert Taylor said, it doesn't matter. Let's just do that one real quick. Sunday, 3:30 p.m., our last game of the slate. Either Dallas or Tampa Bay at San Francisco. San Francisco getting 2 extra days of rest than either of these two teams, as they played on Saturday. Obviously, these guys are playing on Monday, and it's a Sunday late afternoon game for us. It don't matter who they're playing. It's San Francisco all the way.
Yeah, when you have Christian McCaffrey, I think that was and we've said it many times over the show since the trade happened and Christian came there. He has been the difference maker with that team. Deebo Samuel, like you said a few minutes ago, he's finally getting a healthy. Then you add in George Kittle, and you got Bosa on the defense. They're just going to steamroll whoever makes it there. And it looks like, third and going to be 4th and goal for the Cowboys. We'll see what they do here.
See if they go for it or not. All right. Giants in Philadelphia. That's a Saturday game, 5:15 p.m. Pacific time. Eagles are a 7.5-point favorite. Who do you got?
I'm excited to see what Devontae Smith could do. I like Philadelphia in this game. It's going to be Smith and Hurts in this one, and they're just going to keep rolling. They had the extra week off. Take nothing away from Daniel Jones and Daboll.
You know what?
Ooh. Watch that play.
All right, hold on. Robert's a couple seconds ahead of me because he's watching it on normal TV. I'm watching the stream. Oh, nice fake by Dak Prescott. A little faster than Peyton Manning when he made that same maneuver before. I'm kind of sad we're not watching the Manning cast right now because I'm sure he's talking about that right now. But Dallas is on the board again. They've jumped out to a 12-0 lead. Obviously, another one of those divisional matchups that they've played twice already. The Eagles dominated before 48-22. That last week of the season, they weren't really playing a bunch of people, at least all the way through, but they were still able to get the win 22-17 to 16. But I like what I saw from the Giants. Did he miss another one? Did he miss another extra point?
And it's
This
bad.
is glorious.
Watch how bad he misses it.
About the same as the first one. Kickers are just fun. It's just great. I'm gonna take the upset. Give me the New York Giants to make it to the NFC Championship game. It's like this game between Dallas and Tampa Bay. It doesn't matter who wins because San Francisco, I believe, is going to the Super Bowl in the NFC. They're just playing too good. I'm gonna take the upset. Give me the New York Football Giants. So far we are both 3-2 on Super Wild Card Weekend. Of course, we both missed the Giants game. You got Jacksonville over the Chargers, correct? But you couldn't help yourself and you took Baltimore. And I got the Cincinnati game right. We did split in this game. I took Tampa Bay. You took Dallas. If the play on the field is to be believed the rest of the way, Dallas will win this game. But if the kickers are to be believed, go Tampa Bay. How did you go 4-0? There were 5 games. There were 5 games, dum-dum. Jeez, man. 5-0. He's been good. He's made his count. Should have been 4-1. That Chargers game, man. I tell you. All right, let's get into some fun.
No. I don't want to talk about this right now.
Lamar Jackson, as you know, did not play in the playoffs, did not play in like the last month of the regular season. I only put this on the show notes as running around listening to some sports radio earlier today. They brought up this topic. And I have an old Baltimore Raven fan here. So I have to ask you the question. What is going to happen with Lamar Jackson? And where will he play next year? Because there are Vegas odds on this. Don't look them up because I want to bring it up.
It does not shock me what things are swirling around. I read an article earlier today and them talking about the options that are going to be and whether or not they get things done. And as much as I would love to see him stay, and I think there's still a possibility of it happening unless something doesn't get done until what is it, the 27th when you can start doing stuff. I want to say it's February 27th.
Franchise tag stuff goes.
I think it's the 27th. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Greeny is right. Listening to Mike Greenberg this morning and all that, I think they put a tag on him and they start listening to options and offers and where he goes. As much as, he says he wanted to stay there, I think things proved themselves differently over the last 6 weeks where, didn't play the last 5 weeks of the regular season. I hate to say it, but I see them probably moving away from him because it's all about guaranteed money. That's what it boils down to. It was all about the guaranteed money with him. Do they give him the things there? I think the biggest thing, if I was Lamar Jackson, and I say this knowing how things are planned around it. When he was drafted, they had to go in and learn how to coach him based on his style. And they had to start designing a playbook around him. And they have not adjusted that playbook. And everybody knows the same thing. And I think either one or two things got to happen. And I think Lamar goes in to tell them that you have to change our offensive coordinator. We have to get new things designed if I'm going to stay around here and run this, because they're not doing anything new to keep him active in this thing. And if they don't do that, I think he says, you know what, I bid farewell and I'm going to move on.
As just so you know, franchise tag dates start on February 21st, and then teams have till March 7th to designate a player for the franchise or transition players as well. Sportsline has come out with odds for which team Lamar Jackson will play for in week 1 if it's not the Baltimore Ravens. And you are saying right now, as a Baltimore Raven fan, that you do not believe he will be playing for the Baltimore Ravens week 1, yes?
Yeah, if they don't make a change and get Greg Roman out of there, I
Mhm.
think he's probably going to be gone. I
Yeah.
mean, just percentage wise, I feel
Mhm.
that way. I mean, like 40%, 45% that he stays, but I think he puts down in this now. He has to have some kind of say in how they design things around him.
We'll see. But I with you that they will franchise tag him and then see if they can move him or make a deal. But let's have some fun. Again, Sportsline has odds on the teams that Lamar Jackson would most likely play for. Can you name the top 5 teams with the best odds for Lamar Jackson to play for them if it is not for the Baltimore Ravens next year? Go.
I,
Go.
I know Indianapolis is probably in that.
They
I
are
would
5th at a
I
plus
would
700.
I would say Atlanta is one of them.
They are 2nd plus 300.
I'm going to say your New York Jets is one of them.
Number 1 at
Yeah,
plus 200. I don't know if I want Lamar Jackson other than it would make this show really fun.
as much as he does not want to go there, Houston is probably an option.
Nope.
But I
Houston is
don't,
not even
not
on this
anywhere.
list,
Yeah,
which is kind of surprising.
yeah, they need to do something there.
I got 2 more.
Boy, I don't want to say Minnesota, but I would think
No,
Minnesota
absolutely not.
would.
Not even close.
Yeah, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be around there much longer.
One is getting
Should-
rid of their quarterback.
Las Vegas has to
Yep.
be one.
Raiders
Yeah.
are plus 500 and the Panthers are plus 600. So Jets, Falcons, Raiders, Panthers, Colts are the top 5 most likely destinations for Lamar Jackson if he does not play for Baltimore next year. Commanders are plus 1,000, Seahawks plus 1,100, Saints plus 1,200, Patriots plus 1,300, and then Dolphins and Lions are also on this list. But just the fact that the Jets are on the top of this list made me chuckle just a little bit.
Honestly, they were the first one in my mind that popped up because darn good and well they're not going to settle with Wilson or Joe
No,
Flacco.
they're getting a veteran quarterback. The
Yeah.
owner has kind of hinted at it that they will do whatever it takes right now if a veteran quarterback's available, because they are really a quarterback away from being a very good team, and I think they want to go for it right now. And none of the quarterbacks that they have tried this year are the answer.
Mm-mm.
Period. It would be interesting to see the Jets and the Ravens make a trade and Zach Wilson's part of the deal, and you have to root for Zach Wilson and I have to root for Lamar Jackson. That would be interesting. It would be. I don't even remember. Do we face each other? I say bowl because we do the bowling league based off the NFL. Do they face each other this year?
I do not think so.
Go through the NFL news real quick. I'm gonna look.
I was to say I do know though. I've already got an invite, and I have not brought this up with the wife yet, and I'm hoping she's in the other room and she can hear me. But I've have already got an offer to go to Arizona, as the Ravens will travel to Arizona this next year. I already got an invite to come down, hang out, and spend time in Arizona for a game. So we'll see how that goes.
We do not face each other next year.
So
that takes away.
I think it's we just what is it every 3 years we face each other, right?
At least, and then if we meet, we
match
up in the standings.
Yeah.
So all right, NFL news. Go ahead.
All right, so the biggest news coming out this last week has been the improvement of Damar Hamlin, discharged from the hospital on the 11th. Just 10 days after going into cardiac arrest. Crazy to see that he is already home in Cincinnati, and he's already made an appearance at the facility there on, I got to remember what day it was, Saturday, and to hang out with the guys. He was scheduled to go and watch the game yesterday, decided to stay home and watch it, but that's unbelievable to see how much improvement he has made over just a short, 10 day, 12, well, we're now 16 days, 15 days into this accident, and that And like everybody that I've talked with, I mean, fluke accident. It just hit the right time with that one. You did touch on it a little bit ago. Right now, that Atlanta has been selected as the neutral site. We'll see if that pans out after this next week. And Arizona Cardinals hire a new GM today. They ended up hiring Monty Ozenfort to replace Steve Keim. Ozenfort is a former Patriots scout, and then he's also been with the Tennessee Titans for the last 3 years as the director of player personnel. So Arizona is already making moves in that one and seeing that. Also, in other news, Jim Harbaugh has said, "I am staying at Michigan.
Mhm.
I am not leaving." So to go to the NFL. And what are we? 5 teams now bidding for Sean Payton?
Yeah.
Sean Payton's going to get a job. It's just what
Well,
bit,
maybe
what
if
fate,
maybe nothing
you think Fox
catches
is
his
going?
eye.
Yeah, and that might be depends on what Fox gives him, I guess.
Right. Let's look at your scoreboard right now. First in the NBA, every game is done but one. As the Celtics defeat the Hornets 130 to 118, Bucks over the Pacers 132 to 119, Cavs crushed the Pelicans 113-103, Raptors in overtime over my New York Knicks 123-121. Warriors defeat the Wizards. There we go. 127-118. Hawks over the Heat 121 to 113. Jazz sneak out a win over the Timberwolves 126-125. And the Grizzlies well over the Phoenix Suns 136 to 106. One game left to play the Lakers and somebody. I already moved off the thing. I don't care. A lot of action.
It's basketball.
Yeah, NBA basketball. No, thank you. A lot of action in the NHL. Bruins completely whitewashed the Philadelphia Flyers 6-0. Panthers over the Sabres 4-1. Avalanche over the Red Wings 6-3. Devils over the Sharks 4-3. And it's Monday night, not Tuesday night, but you know what that means, right?
Release the Kraken!
But it is Monday night, not Tuesday night, so the Lightning beat the Kraken 4-1. But I just wanted to play something. Stars over the Golden Knights 4-0 there as well. Going on right now, Rangers over the Blue Jackets 3-1. Ducks and Penguins tied at 2 in the third. Islanders over the Capitals going into the third. Predators over the Flames 2-0 in the second. Blues up 2-0 over the Senators in the second. And that is it. Every game that it will be played has at least started, if not finished. Look at college basketball right now. Out of your top 25 games, all of those games have been completed. Purdue over Michigan State 64-63. They're the third team in the country. Charleston ranked 18th in the country at 19-1. Easily get by William & Mary 82-54. Miami, number 17 team in the country, with a close game against Syracuse, but win at 82-78. And number 24, Florida Atlantic, with a 76-62 win over Western Kentucky. On the women's scoreboard, if things will load, nothing. Not a single top 25 game.
So with that being said, let's talk about the top 5 of each of those. Actually, top 6. Gonzaga sneaks in at number 6. Right now, UCLA 5, Bama 4, Purdue, like you said, number 3, Kansas 2, and Houston 1 on the men's side. On the women's side, it's South Carolina, and it's going to be South Carolina the entire time. 1, Ohio State, 2, LSU, 3, Stanford 4, UConn 5, and Gonzaga 16.
Have you gotten into college basketball as of yet?
Not right yet. Still, I did watch a little bit of the game the other day in the huge blowout with Gonzaga as I was flipping through stations. But there's so much high school basketball going on right now that my direction is a little bit more into the high school rank and what Lapway is doing, what Clarkson did this week. So it's been a little hard getting into the college one so far.
Yeah, other than LC, I haven't either really gotten too much into it. Don't forget, the Australian Open starts tonight, at some point. It's in Australia. Timing is weird. But that is going on right now. If you are up late at night like I am, and you need something to watch at 1 a.m, tennis is on. And there you go. You got Aussie Open tennis if you so choose to watch that. It is 12-0. Dallas leading Tampa Bay. 2-minute warning right now in that game in the first half, and Dallas does still have the football. Let's get into some LCSC sports and get into some of the local stuff. Don't forget, we still have a sports-related draft. So if you're here from out of the area and you want to participate, greatest sports comebacks of all time will be later on in the show. But go ahead.
And you will be saying your little icon of what you're going to play for me. You're going to be playing Roman Reigns as I win. Just saying.
No, it's not happening. All right, let's get into basketball. Both teams playing 2 games this weekend at home. They're going to be home again this weekend. The men split their 2 games. I was there live on Friday as they came back from a 7-point deficit late against Oregon Tech, winning that one 76-74. The last few minutes were absolutely phenomenal. Really fun game. Davion Brown nearly set a career record. He had 25 points. John Lustig did set a career high. He had 22 points in that game. He also had set a career high last weekend, so it's like a weekly thing for him. Out of those 22 points, he had 10 really early in that game. He came out strong. He's been starting lately for the Warriors, and he looked really good. Silas Benyon also with 15. The guys still are trying to piece some stuff together, and they're showing glimpses of being a really strong team, but they're just not quite there just yet. They're 7-10 on the season, 4-7 in conferences. They do lose to Southern Oregon 85-81, trailed by 10 with 2:38 to go. Did their best to make a late push there as well. End up losing by 4. Eric Chaney had a career high with 17 points, and Keegan Crosby had 14 points and a career high 11 rebounds in that one. But the women continue to be the story for LC. They do stay at number 10 in the NAIA poll, only because the other 9 teams ahead of them also refuse to lose. So it's tough for them to move up right now, but they stay at 10. They do defeat Oregon Tech 79-64, looked really strong in that contest. Callie Stevens, who was on the show last week, scored 20 points. Ellie Sander had 16 points. She was also on the show last week, so you're welcome, ladies. And Hannah Broyles with 19 points as the Warriors hit 13 3-pointers in that game. And I want to say they had about 12 with halfway through the third quarter in that game. And it looked like they were possibly on pace to set a school record and just stop shooting the 3. But congratulations to them. And then a great one against number 23 Southern Oregon, where LC was able to win 54-48, get revenge on Southern Oregon for winning the Cascade Conference tournament last year. So great one there. The first half, I was able to watch this while I was at work. I actually watched more of this game than I did the San Francisco-Seattle football game, because at this point it was kind of a blowout for the 49ers. But Southern Oregon jumps out to an 18-4 lead in this one. And you're just like, well, LC just doesn't have it. Until LC scored the next 20 points. And the next thing you know, they were leading 24-18. It was just wild, the runs in this game. Southern Oregon led by as much as 6 in the fourth quarter before the Warriors went on a great tear. Stevens with 20 points again in this contest. Ellie Sander with 11, and Maddie Holm finished with 10 rebounds. They will host Evergreen State. Women start at 5 p.m., men to follow, and then Northwest on Saturday, 4 p.m. for the women, and the men to follow as well. Robert, track and field, they're back in action.
Yeah, they're back in action in the Spokane Indoor Challenge. London Kirk broke both the 200 and the 400 meter LCSC records. The 200 meter 21.99. That would be me just doing maybe 100 meters. So just saying. And in the 400 meters, Kirk with a 49.06 second LCS record. Crazy fast there. It's the first race as a Warrior. Jedediah Barnaby ran the second fastest 60-meter dash time in LC history at 7.18. That is just crazy 7.18 in
Mhm.
60 meters. So congratulations to him. Also, Connor Turnpin won the 5,000 meter with a time of 15 minutes 24.4 seconds, and Bryson Brown finishes second right behind him in that one. You look at Annika Grogan, the LHS athlete, what she's doing, topped her own record with the 400 meter with a time of 58.15. Also, you look at Sydney Swowena. She set an LC record in the triple jump with a distance of 10.89 meters. And Jenna Carpenter, another LC
Mhm.
person, Lewiston person, set an LC record in the 60-meter hurdle with a time of 9.49. So crazy what this team can do. The track and field will be back in action on Saturday as they are at the Lauren McCluskey Open at the University of Idaho.
Very, very cool. High school basketball, as you said, is in full swing. How'd the Bantams do?
Tough road trip last week. I know we were on the air when we were dealing with that. Just recap real fast with the boys. They lost 61-49 in that one, but they were also playing the number 9 team in the state as West Valley. That's where they are ranked right now. West Valley hit 6 3-pointers in the first half alone in that ball game. Mason Brown led the scorers with 15 points for the Bantams, but Grady Walker will be a team name, and so will Ben Freed. Both those guys are some big guys for West Valley, so it'll be interesting when we see those guys here in a couple of weeks. They are part of that change we'll talk about here to Golden Throne Week as the Bantams will host them in that week. And then the girls, they come away with a win up there against West Valley, 64-35. Bantams had 25 steals in that game. Kendall Wallace, 18 points. West Valley only really has one player, and that's Chloe DeHaro. Great player. She's a junior, 27 points, and only 2 other players scored in that ball game. So tough season going to be for the West Valley girls side. And then you look at the Bantams and what they did to Rogers on Friday night. First off, for the girls, ended up just totally obliterating them. They outscored Rogers 80-17. They led 21-0 in there we go. Do you want just go ahead and play Roman Reigns right now because I'm already going to take this win here. But it is Tom Brady. Listen, so Rogers, Greg, the girls just kept the pedal down on that one. 11 of the 12 Bantams scored in this one. Kendall Wallace, 19 points. Ella Levitt, 13 points. And Villavicencio had 10. Alejandra Perez with 12. But they had a running clock to start the just within the first minute of that one in that ball game. And then the boys come away with a big win did he miss another one?
He missed another one.
Oh, dear Lord. Now they're showing the replay finally. And that time he goes left. Oy vey. So what is it? 18-0 now.
18-0. Dallas leading Tampa Bay. 3 missed extra points by Dallas.
Crazy.
Real.
Yeah. So to wrap up, the boys played Rogers. They end up with a big win, 70-33. Bantams led by 12 at the halftime and then outscored Rogers 40-15 in the second half. 8 of the 10 Bantams scored in this one. Xavier was on fire. Dennis Lenz and I were looking up at the scoreboard or at the wall of records. Xavier had 7 3-pointers. We were looking to see what the record is for Bantam in a game, and it was 9. So he was a couple off there. The Lewiston transfer, Dom Palucci, had a great game, hit a couple big 3-pointers, and this one ended up with 10 points in that one. So he played quite well as he come off the bench. So great to see him in action. And then you look at Juwan. Now, I don't know if you heard about this one, and I don't have it anymore, but Dewan Henry. Remember that name. He is just a sophomore for Rogers. 13 points, but the last play, the last scoring of the entire game was a Dominique Wilkins-style windmill dunk from the low block. He comes up, windmill, slams
Sorry,
it down.
no, I'm not. I'm not gonna get off my lawn moment here. You lost by 40.
Oh, yeah, and he threw it
You
down.
don't need to
he
need
got
a
a steal.
showboat a dunk when you lose by 40.
Yeah, he got a steal, took it down, slammed it from the low block, but it was
No,
probably
no,
one
I'm
of the
not
better
okay with it. I don't
dunks I
care.
saw.
No, I don't care.
But
It's a 40
big
point
thing,
game. Move on.
yeah,
Go ahead.
big thing tomorrow. If you are not doing anything and you're in the LC Valley, I'm going to plug my game first. Number 1, Pullman, who is ranked number 1, 2A, taking on the Clarkston Bantams.
No,
It's
don't
going to
go
be
there.
interesting.
Don't go there. Don't go
Boys
there.
start at
Horrible.
5:30.
It's a horrible game, guys. Don't go there.
Boys start at 5:30. Girls start at 7.
No, Pullman boys have been absolutely phenomenal. They have played Lewiston this year up in Pullman and got the win. Look at the Lewiston basketball side of things. Girls continue to struggle a little bit. They played a very tough couple of games. Post Falls, one of the best teams on the girls' side. The Post Falls team remains undefeated with a 71-49 win over Lewiston. A 14-0 run in the opening quarter helped the Trojans jump out to a big lead. Good effort by the Lady Bengals to stay in it. Caught it within 7 several times and then let things slip away a bit. Reese DeGroot did a good job with 10 points. Zoe Kessinger has been phenomenal offensively. She scored 20 in that contest. And on Saturday, it was a girls-only game as they took on Timberlake, one of the better 3A schools in the state of Idaho. And Timberlake comes away with a 54-43 win. I got another gutsy effort, I think, for the Bengals, who, this was a thrown together game a couple weeks ago. Several of the top players for Lewiston were not there even in attendance for this game. And Lewiston shorthanded did the best they could. Savannah Burke with a double-double, 13 points and 10 rebounds. The boys just had the one game, and they dominated Post Falls, who really struggled this year, 67-38. The defense of Lewiston is going to make them a contender for the rest of the year, but it's really going to come down to this week to kind of see where they stand as they host Coeur d'Alene on Tuesday. Again, girls at 5:30, boys at 7. Much better watch than Clarkston. If you have nothing going on in the Valley and you want to watch some great basketball, come on up to LHS or listen to the River 105.1. I hear there's some dork that calls the games on that station. Go listen to him talk about it. But it's going to be fun, especially on the boys' side between Coeur d'Alene, one of the best teams in the state of Idaho, against Lewiston, who's 10-2 now, and one of the best defenses in the Northwest. And then they will travel up to Lake City, who might be the best of them all. And I want to see Lake City take on Lapwai. But Lewiston will travel up there on Friday. And that'll be their last games before Golden Throne in a week from Friday. So
it'll be crazy. Is it bad that I'm trying to research place kicker free agents right now?
Think they can bring somebody in for the second half?
You would think. I don't know.
Hey, don't forget, Golden Plunger is coming up. It's a wrestling meet between Clarkston and Lewiston. That'll take place a week from Wednesday. JV at 6, varsity at 7. That'll take place at LHS as well. Looking throughout some of the other area teams, we just have to highlight the Lapwai boys basketball team. Now 49 straight wins. They were trailing in the second quarter to Potlatch 17-16. Got things rolling there for a 70-41 victory. Case Wynot had 35 points in that contest. And now look for win number 50. 50 in a row.
And this is national too. We talked about it last week. They have the longest win streak nationally. So they're going to be getting some looks, I think, here pretty soon for some other teams to either come up or visit, or we go and visit.
They'll never travel to Lapwai, but somewhere. They'll play on Thursday looking for win number 50 when they take on Prairie. That is when they play next. We won't have a full slate of other games again because I just have not had time to research stuff, but there you go. Clarkston lost in a duel to Rogers. Very close contest. I know, Robert, you were there. We'll talk about that in a second. Lewiston dominated their home duel against Moscow. Moscow did come in with several injuries, so there was a lot of forfeits in that contest. But Lewiston won, I believe, 6 of the 8 matches that actually took place, and 7 of those were by pinfall.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But tell me about Clarkson real quick.
Well, the community, I'm going to talk really quick about that. The community of wrestling community, we've got some great athletes. If you get a chance to go and watch some of these guys, go and watch them. Robert Storm was athlete of the week this past week, so go check that out. So, yeah, Clarkson comes away with a tough loss in this one, 35-42, but the atmosphere at the Coop inside Kramer Gym was nuts. Gabe Wiesa comes away with a win. Dawson Bailey, who has been on a hot streak, he has a win by pin. Bodie Thieveridge comes away with a big win. I had a chance to talk with Coach Corey Thieveridge about that one. That match got a little chippy to the end where the Rogers guy kind of got up in Bodie's face and also the official's face as I had a conversation with Corey, and he said that the kid was trying to break Bodie's finger. And so, yeah, got a little chippy with that one. But I think the best match of the night, and I'm trying to get you film where you can watch it, and that is the 220-pound weight of Braden Jared. He won by pin. No score after the first 2 minutes, and then he come in, almost gets a pin at the very end of the second period, and then comes away with a pin as the horn is going off in the third period to come away with a pin. Great thing there. And also the freshman Justin Waters comes away with a pin at the 285-pound weight class. So congratulations to those guys. Back in action. So I'll be back down at Kramer Gym on Wednesday as it is senior night, and they'll have a home duel against Shadle Park, and that one's 6:00 for JV senior night, and then we'll start hopefully by 7:15 or so. Scheduled for 7, but with it senior night.
Oh yeah, senior night always kind of pushes things back just
Yes.
a hair. Don't forget, again, a week from Wednesday's the Golden Plunger game between the wrestling teams for Clarkston and Lewiston, and then the Golden Throne a week from Friday over there at the P1FCU Activity Center. We will have a bunch to talk about next week to prepare for that. And I do believe it'll be our first show back in the studio. It might change and not be in the studio if it's just easier for some of the guests we're trying to get to, be on Zoom instead or on StreamYard, I guess. But hopefully we will be back in studio next week and back into our spring format. But let's get into it. Let's get to our sports related draft. And in honor of the Jacksonville Jaguars coming back from 27-0 to eliminate the Los Angeles Chargers, we are going to do the best comeback in all of sports. And if you've never seen this segment before, because it's been a few months, we put it back in the closet for the football season. We'll probably bring it back because it's a good, fun banter back and forth, and it fills some time, let's be honest. Whoever comes up with the topic, the other person gets to pick first. We each get 3 choices, and then you as an audience, or at least if there's somebody out there, I did message Robert Taylor to please come back so he can at least vote.
So
I'd love be Robert Taylor.
I'd love to know who's on watching right now. So drop us a line in the comments. Because
absolutely, you guys can vote. Tell us who wins this draft, so one of us can make fun of the other for at least a week. So I came up with this topic. Robert Taylor is back, and I appreciate him very much for that. Haley's here to vote too. Perfect. I love it. Let's get into it. I picked the topic. Robert Hagan, you get the first pick.
Listen, I'm going to win with this one right away.
No,
I have to. I am going to. And you know that because the first one I'm taking is a baseball one. Both of us are baseball nuts.
Yep.
You have to take it. And yes, it was against there you go. It's against your New York Yankees.
Oh, no.
And I know Eric Watkins will be voting for me, so you can play Roman Reigns, and you will acknowledge me. Listen, my first pick is the 2004 Boston Red Sox. They were down 3-0 to the Yankees in the championship. Then come away with the AL pennant, ends the curse of the Bambino. Listen, down 3-0, come back. That was probably the best comeback with David Ortiz and what those guys were doing. Listen, you have to acknowledge that. Just saying.
It's been almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I still can't handle it. I still can't take it. It was brutal.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely brutal.
Because didn't A-Rod get in the middle of that and get called for interference and all that? And wasn't that part of it?
I blocked
think
it out
so.
of my memory. Absolutely blocked it out of my memory. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, my first pick. Let's go back to the NFL. 27-0 is cute and all. But that's just a wild card game. There's one game out there that gets compared to every comeback since then. 28-3. The New England Patriots coming back against the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady wins another one. It got to that point we were still doing, we still do our Super Bowl parties with the NFL league, but for the most part, the party kind of dies down before the game starts and everyone goes off and does their own parties. But this was one that we were still hanging out as a decent enough group. Most people left by halftime. Atlanta was completely rolling at this point. And it even got to the point where I was like, I hate Tom Brady as a Jets fan. I mean, I hated Tom Brady before it was cool to do so. But I was even rooting for him to just kind of make it a game, please. At least make it entertaining. And it became so entertaining. It was the first ever overtime game in Super Bowl history. And Tom Brady went down and got the win. And it's become the giant meme of comebacks. There's no point ever where a team is down 3-0 and people are throwing memes of the Yankees losing to the Red Sox. No, but anytime the score's 28-3, Atlanta memes go everywhere. It became a big thing in almost every other sport. Some kind of a crazy comeback happens and they bring up the Atlanta Falcons. This is the comeback that everyone will remember. Thanks to the memes.
Well, and that's the thing. You're talking about memes, so you must be trying to decipher everything to Gen Z. Is that where you're trying to get the votes?
I'm turning it to I have the better comeback than your stupid Red Sox pick.
You're going Gen Z. Let's go that direction, and it's all about a meme. No, let's play it.
Memes.
It's all about the
one
gameplay.
Is remembered more than others. Period. All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna go my second pick. I'm gonna go with something that actually happened this year. Give us the biggest comeback in NFL history, being down 33 points. Minnesota comes back and beats Indianapolis. And Greg Joseph hits that game-winning field goal with 30 seconds.
I knew Robert was going to bring up his Chiefs comeback.
but
that was a good comeback, too.
Yeah. But, you look at that game and excuse me. Sorry. I'm going to cough there. What Minnesota did to come back. So
yep.
I think it is, I agree. It's a meme area. You're getting there. So for me, it's got to be that football game. It's that football game of being down 33 and what Kirk Cousins did in that one and Jefferson in that ball game. So
boring. It's a regular season game. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's a horrible pick by you. But I'm going to double down on my pick. 28-3 is such an important number that it's happened twice in the NFL. How about we go all the way back to 1993, the wild card game between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Oilers. Buffalo was down 28-3 with a backup quarterback. Jim Kelly's not playing in that game. Come all the way back, score 28 points in the third. Also have to push it to overtime. Get the big win. It was a comeback so fantastic that you never see the Houston Oilers in anymore. They're done. They're gone. They had to move to Tennessee. That's how good this Buffalo Bills comeback was. Again, with a backup quarterback, pushed them all the way to the Super Bowl where they, lose every single year. But this got them there.
So let me ask you a question with that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Where were you for that game?
Probably watching as a 9-year-old. I'm probably watching
You're
it.
telling me you remember that when you were 9 years old?
I actually, you know what? I
You telling
remember
me
it
you remember that
afterwards.
when you're 9 years old?
I remember it afterwards because we were subscribed to Sports Illustrated and they had come out with the best sports moments of that year. So it was like the Christian Laettner play was very much ingrained in my memory. This comeback as well, very much ingrained in my memory because it was on one of the 2 VHSs I had from Sports Illustrated that was all about the best moments in sport. So yeah, I have watched this comeback, or at least highlights of this comeback, a ton, an absolute ton. I've also seen the great game that Michael Jordan did against Patrick Ewing and the Knicks more times than I would like to remember because that is a game 5 that is ingrained in my memory as well. So yeah, Sports Illustrated VHS tapes are why that this game is ingrained in my memory. I can't remember watching it live, but I remember watching it a ton. Yes, I very much. Yeah, guys, VHS. If you've never heard of VHS, is this little rectangle that? Nah, go ahead. Give me your third pick.
For me, I was typing something else in here because I wanted to look at the year, but I was trying to remember for yours. Anyway, for me, there's one big number, and I'm gonna say it: 108 years. 108 years between championships. Listen, you're down 3-1.
Yep.
And you have to go there. You got to go with the Cubbies. The Cubbies coming back after 108 years. You could say the GOAT. You could also talk about Steve Bartman that extended this out a little bit more. But you got to talk about I know. I guarantee he's still living with all of that. But the 2016 Cubs come back to the World Series down 3-1 against the Indians. The Indians looking for a title since 1948. So, I mean, they'd been looking for a long time too. Cubs had the best record in the year, knocked off the Giants, knocked off the Dodgers in that one. And so for them to come back, and for a guy that I was a huge fan of, especially in fantasy baseball stuff, I was always after getting Ben Zobrist. I thought he was one of the best utility players. He comes away with a game-winning RBI double in that one. But 108 years, easy peasy. The two baseball picks are easy picks there.
They're boring picks. They're not good picks. In doing research for this, because I do research sometimes, and the 10 minutes of research I had for the entire show today, because it's been a busy day, I found one I had never heard of. And I'm so glad Eric Watkins is here because he loves off the wall sport picks. So hopefully this wins him over. But I'm going to bring up the greatest comeback in all of sports that nobody's ever heard of, other than those that are just into this
That's
stuff.
the problem. You're picking something
I'm going to educate people. I'm here to educate people. We have a segment where we talk Aussie rules football, trying to educate the people. That's what I'm here for. 2013 America's Cup. What is America's Cup? I don't know, but it has to do with sailing. And the stuff that I read is apparently the America's Cup is the Super Bowl of sailing, if that helps you at all. The Oracle team was down 8-1 in a best of 17 series. Why they do 17? I don't understand. I don't know how this stuff works.
Who was their captain?
I don't know. I don't care. Let me tell my story.
How many people were on the boat?
4, maybe 5. I only had 10 minutes here to look up all this stuff. I haven't watched how it works. But they were down 8-1. 8-1 in a best of 17 series. They lose one more leg, it's over. You're talking about coming back from 3-1. That's nothing. 8-1. And they come all the way back and they beat the Emirates team from New Zealand. And they win that series 9-8. So much so that the last leg, they were even trailing in that last leg and had to make another comeback to win that one. Listen, what is at stake? Everything. It's the America's Cup. America was at stake. And they came back from 8-1. Greatest comeback, period. I win. Move on. Let's vote. Let them vote.
You're going to be playing. Just acknowledge me now because I know. we're all voting.
No, absolutely not. I'd play another one, but we're still associated with LC, and we're not throwing cuss words out there. But, all right. So, for Robert Hagen, he has some baseball crap. 2004, were the sales big? I'm going to bring this up. People, you guys are talk about what was going on here.
Wait a minute. I got to read this. I love it right there. I am disappointed at the lack of hockey, but I have to give it to Robert acknowledging. There you go.
Unfortunately, Eric, with hockey, comebacks happen all the time in hockey. Hockey is known for their comebacks and their higher seeds beating the better teams. And go ahead. Tell people what was there.
What am I telling them?
Who picked what?
So I ended up taking the Curse of the Bambino. He ended up winning with the Boston Red Sox knocking off the New York Yankees in the AL pennant. Then I also take this year's Minnesota Vikings.
Look how exhilarating the sport is. Look at them go. Look at us get demonetized because I'm showing this clip. How can you not get into the sport?
Well, let me tell you that. Let me tell you, is that 2013?
Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. This is the last race too.
Yeah, so
look at how fast they're going. There you go. Those were the team captains, I think, that they just showed up on the screen. Anyways,
don't know.
Don't know.
Don't care. Anyway, I took the Curse of the Bambino, the Red Sox win the AL pennant. I took Minnesota.
Eric, comebacks happen all the time in hockey. You just said there's a bunch of them.
I took Minnesota knocking off. No, come on, Robert Taylor. What? Haley is the breaking point. Haley knows where.
Look how exhilarating that sailing was. Pick me, please. Pick me, please.
No. And then
it's up to her.
And then I'm going to take down. And then I take down the Chicago Cubs in 108 years. Randy takes Atlanta, the king of the memes. I don't understand that one. Another meme one that is another 28-3 that he was in diapers. That he was in diapers for.
I was 9 years old. Thank you very much.
And then he's taking some little race on the water. So
did you see how cool that was?
You already know I went. Acknowledge me.
No.
Acknowledge
me. It's up to Haley. It's all down to Haley. Meanwhile, Dallas Cowboys are still leading.
Yes! Play it. Play it for me, sir. You have to.
I'm not pushing the button.
Push the button.
No.
Push
not doing it.
The button.
Hey, if you would have been able to push the correct buttons, we would have been on time today. We'll go with that. All right. I'll give you the one. I wanted to have fun with mine. You give me ribs of Yankees and
acknowledge me.
I'll push the button and Robert Hagen gets the win. However, in our all-time sports-related drafts, you do snap a 5-draft losing streak to me. But I am still up 18-11. Do you know why?
I'm better than you, and you know it.
All right, before we get out of here.
You can't see me.
Before we get out of here, we're less than 60 days to the first week of Aussie Rules Football. We just want to remind you about that. But now it is time to end the show with...
I play golf. I'm not good at golf. I never got good. I never got a hole-in-one. But I did hit a guy, and that's way more satisfying. You're supposed to yell 4, but I was too busy mumbling. There ain't no way that's going to hit him.
Golf is back. Sony Open, how'd it go?
And Si-Woo Kim comes back and goes back-to-back birdies in this one. He takes and wins this one, shooting 17 under. Also gets his 14th.
I've got some bad news.
Yes, he does. He's his first title in 2 years, picking up his 4th win there. Hayden Buckley finished second, Buckley missed a 12-foot putt, 12-foot putt to send that one to extras. But Kim picks up his first win in 2 years from his last one at the American Express, which starts this week. So this weekend down in La Quinta, California. So looking for, as the PGA is underway, it's time to start watching a little bit more golf.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I know weather kind of got in the way and darkness hit, and putt and pitch was fun to watch. Yes, Haley and I actually watched. I don't know if you saw this, Joel. I think you sent it to me after the fact. But Joel Damon played in a little goofy tournament in Austin, Texas, at a little pitch and putt situation where they had reverse mulligans and had the commentators play. And we need to do something like that. It looked a lot of fun, and give them credit for doing that for charity. And it was cool to kind of see the Valley when Joel was talking about his. But very cool thing. Go look it up. I forget exactly what it's called.
It was the Tito's, yeah. So
Robert, maybe you can post that.
I can post it. Yep.
But it was very, very cool. All right, before we get out of here, we talk many times about, we do a bowling league based on the NFL. We've been running it for 14 years now. We're a week behind our season because we didn't bowl on Christmas. The NFL did not care about Christmas. They kept playing. But we have finished our regular season, and it is now playoff time. And Robert Hagan, it is now time for you to predict the winners of our wild card, our super wild card weekend. Let's start with the NFC. San Francisco 49ers are on bye. David and Billy did a great job, ended up with the number 1 seed. But look at the matchups. Francine and Julia, the Washington Commanders, take on Pam and Katie. Or no, wrong, excuse me. They take on Trisha and Blaine, the Minnesota Vikings. Washington or Minnesota, who you got?
Blaine has stepped up his game a little bit. Julia has been on the little downside. I'm going to take Minnesota.
You got to bring up Trisha.
Trisha, MVP.
Second ever 2-time women's MVP in the league, tying her with Debbie Harris. So congratulations to her. I'm also going to take the Minnesota Vikings to win that contest. The number 6 seed, Philadelphia Eagles, Jason and Bruno, who we do not talk about, apparently, according to a Disney movie. And the number 3 seed, the Atlanta Falcons, Travis and Michelle. Who you got?
Michelle's been bowling hot here lately. She had a little bit of down week this week. I think just because she was bowling unopposed. I think they knock off the boys this week. So give me Atlanta.
Atlanta does have more handicap, and Philadelphia has a tendency of struggle against that kind of handicap and feel like they have a lot of pressure. So once again, I will agree with you. Atlanta will win. The final NFC matchup, the Seattle Seahawks are our 5 seed. The Claffies against the 4 seed Dallas Cowboys, Pam and Katie. Who do you got there?
I'm going to keep it short. I know we're on
right
time,
on the edge.
I'm going to take Seattle.
Rick Claffey Jr. has been bowling fantastic. He pushed me to the limit a couple weeks ago. Pam and Katie struggled, like you said, last week, but they've been around so long. I'm going to give Dallas the win. Their AFC, your boys, the New York Jets, are the number 1 seed. Me and Tony locked that up, both shooting over 720 last night, even though Tony was hammered by the end of it. Your matchups, the 7 seed Houston Texans, Gary Packwood and Anita Orton against the 2 seed Cleveland Browns, Robert Kite and Tommy Sneed. Some handicap on that Houston team. Can Cleveland overcome?
Yeah, handicap on the team. Gary Packwood has been bowling up really good this year. Robert Kite up and down, but I think it's enough that Kite, I've bowled with him on the same pair the last 2 weeks. Robert and Tommy just look too strong. Cleveland with that one.
Yeah, Tommy's been bowling fantastic lately. Robert has put up some pretty good games as well. Give me Cleveland along with you. The 6 seed Pittsburgh Steelers, Marty and Harold against the number 3 seed Indianapolis Colts with Kyle Post and Brandon Newbo. Again, one team has a lot more handicap than the other.
A significant amount. And I lost to this Pittsburgh team a few weeks ago. They did have a sub, but Harold bowled out of his tree. But how can you go against Kyle Post and setting a record again, another MVP for him?
Yep.
I'm going to take Indianapolis.
Yeah, Kyle Post, the second bowler to reach 3 male MVP votes. MVP wins. He ties me in that record and set the record for most MVP points in a season with 51.5. So congratulations to him. But I'm going with Harold Riggle. He does a great job of pissing off his opponents by just lighting things up randomly. And with the handicap that he has, he becomes almost.
Whoa, and with that being said, he cuts himself off. I don't understand Randy. He ducks out. We'll look to see if he comes back in here in just a second. He does. I gave him the hands up there that there was a touchdown.
Told me to go. What that was.
And he decided he was logging off.
That was it. That was it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers in that one. The final one, and the reason why we bring it up, the number 5 seed, your Baltimore Ravens, Mr. Robert Hagan and his partner Keith Wilponen against the number 4 seed, Robert Taylor's Kansas City Chiefs. Dwayne and Ray, give me Kansas City.
Ooh, you're gonna take it. So I can't bet against myself. I'm gonna take this one. I know both Dwayne and I are dealing with injury. I have a cut on my lift finger of my right hand, so I ended up having to.
The excuses are coming out.
I had to super glue it, but I'll be ready. I hope Dwayne is I gotta give him a ton of pins, but I'm taking us to knock them out.
All right, that's going to do it for our goofy Monday night show. Let you guys watch the rest of this Dallas Cowboys Tampa Bay game. Maybe Tampa Bay can be another comeback. They're definitely going to need it. That's for sure. But that will do it. We'll be back next Tuesday to talk about the divisional round of the NFL and get you ready for not only the Golden Throne, but the Golden Plunger as well. But for now, that will do it for this week's R&R Sports Report. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are